Hello, hi to all the listeners. I am Nokubongwa Mkhabela, and welcome to the Empowerment Podcast. It is a blessed Sunday, and we are so privileged to share yet another day, yet another episode that will leave you empowered, inspired, and equipped, that will equip you. This is Soulful Chat, to have soulful conversations that will engage with your mind and your soul. I'm here with my girl and our highly esteemed guest. Over to you, girl.
Thank you very much. Greetings to everyone. Happy Sunday. And guess what? Today it is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's to you, ladies and gentlemen out there. I hope you guys are having great time with yourself, families, and your loved ones. I hope you get the whole pot of for you actually pour. We're having this conversation with the powerhouse, saying we cannot pour from an empty cup. So it's very important to love ourselves first, so that you'll be able to love other people. So happy Sunday and happy Valentine's Day. Yes, I'm Thandazani Zulu, and I'll be hosting the show once again on a Sunday with my girl, and we have our special guest joining us today. You guys, this is our very first guest on our, brace yourself. We are talking everything acting on your dream. We are talking soulful talks around that topic. And our guest is Mr. Lunga Khumalo, or Mr. Author. And I'm just going to allow him to introduce himself, and then we take it after that.
Hello, hi, greetings. Thank you so much, ladies, for having me. As you said, I am Lunga, Mr. Author Khumalo. It's so weird yet so exciting at the same time that I'm a guest today. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Lunga, Mr. Author Khumalo. I'm the founder of Empowerment Podcast, also the director of Leaders in Empowerment. I'm a young writer, a young Christian guy who's passionate about preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. Who's passionate about spreading empowerment, and not only to people in my age, but also to everyone, to preach it as much as I can to all people, so that eventually we may come into knowing Christ and Him, because He's our Savior. Who else could we trust in if not Him? So yeah, that's me. And I've done a lot, but I guess what I've done will unfold on the conversation as it continues.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Lunga. Welcome, guys. Sinphathele umphathi,
what?
Listen, so thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Very, very privileged to have came across an amazing person like you, a person who's always willing to give his best and his all into improving people's lives, encouraging, empowering, and inspiring other people to go after each and everything that they have to go after in order to be at the state where they are fully developed. It can be each and in all different sectors of life, in all different sectors of things that you'd like to achieve. And we've seen that if you've been listening to our podcast on different shows Sunday, guys, I tell you, it has always been about that. We believe in empowering and inspiring, and I think now you understand where all of this is coming from. Mr. Lunga Khumalo, as he has introduced himself. The question I have for him, I know that when you are a young person, or a person, doesn't have to be young, to have goals or dreams that you are acting on, you have different challenges, you have things that you'd like to achieve, you setting yourself like a time frame at what point you'd like to achieve this and things like that. But first things first, this is what I'd like to know. Why did you want to pursue this goal to begin with? And has anything changed? And when I'm speaking specifically about this goal, I'm talking about Empowerment Podcast. This is so big. This is so huge. We have listeners all over the world. Have you ever imagined it to be at this point it is right now? Take us through from the beginning, from the get-go, when God was planning up to visualizing it and making it reality.
Hey, your question, Thandazani. It's taking me back to the year 2018 when it all started, And back then I was just, I just had finished high school. at the time, and I did not get accepted to where I wanted to go, the college, the university, because of the marks. That did not bother me that much, because I knew what I wanted to do, and I've always been that person who believed what I want I will get, one way or the other. So I guess back then when it started, when it came that, and I was introduced to the podcast, to the podcasting world or industry. Back then it started as Mr. Author's podcast, and I started exploring this thing, and I started, getting to know the industry I want to tap into, podcasting, and I explored different podcasts and different ways of how to do it. And then that was 2017, and 2018 it is then where I was like, you know what, I want to be intentional with what I'm doing, and I want to be focused, and I wanted not only to just be a thing that I will do it, but I want it to be something that when I do it, it will give fruit, it will give results, not just something that I'm doing for my sake, maybe to be famous, or maybe something that I'm doing for because I like doing it. But I wanted to, I was intentional then, back in 2018. Then I said, okay, I want to do this, and what can I call it? And I started embarking on a journey of discovering as to what will I call it, and what will it be, and what will it be about, And I started visualizing as to, will I have more people doing it with me as it happening, or will I be solo? How is it going to happen, And I started planning it out, I started putting it in paper, I started writing it down, and the plan came out as to Empowerment Podcast as we know it today, And why Empowerment Podcast? Maybe why even the name Empowerment? At the time, to be honest with you, I needed empowerment in my life. I needed empowerment. I needed motivation. As I said, when I started Empowerment Podcast, I was at the point where my dreams were crumbling before me because I was not accepted to the university field that I wanted to attend to. So I knew that at the time I wanted empowerment for myself, And I decided, you know what, let me give to the people what I want also. Let me not be selfish. When I have received empowerment, why don't I give it to other people? So I started it alone, started doing episodes here and there, trying it out. Have now called it Empowerment Podcast, and the vision was strict. It was straightforward and simple that it is to empower people, nothing else. Empowerment Podcast is to empower people. And back then it was not even Empowerment Podcast, but it was Empowerment FM because in fact, it was Empowerment Internet Radio. If you could check on our archives, it was Empowerment Internet Radio because I was intentional with empowering people through the airwaves, and I did this thing, and then when I reached a point when I was doing it where, I sat down with myself, I sat down with the Lord and I said, God, what is that you want me to do with this? Because I see that there's a lot of potential with myself doing in this thing. What is that you want me to do? And he started telling me something that is very amazing. He said, I want you to empower people with this because there will come a time where empowerment will be most needed. And if you could look at empowerment now, I think it's one of the most relevant things in the country, if not the world, because a lot of people now need empowerment. True. And it came at the right time, and God started connecting me with the right people so that it could actually be what he wanted to be. Now, it's no longer just a dream that I have to empower myself because I was shattered, but it became his tool for him to actually send the message of empowerment. So for me, it's not about having a dream that it was my childhood dream, but it is something that I personally believe it is God-driven. It is a direction and the order that God wanted me to take. And I'm just following his footsteps, and I'm enjoying each and every step of the way. Look at where we are today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. When you talk about how you wrote it down, I'm reminded of the scripture that says, write down the vision, make it plain so that whoever that reads it is able to run with it. And look, now you have so many shows from Monday to Sunday, you know what I mean? And yes, there are people who are there, to help out with the vision, and we are definitely running with it, I just want to know that how long did it take for your dream to become a reality? Because you did mention that it started around 2017, 2018, but from the time you wanted it to be to the time it started to actually manifest, how long did it take for that process to?
Thank you so much for your question. I won't lie to you, and I won't lie to the people listening, because To wait, it's a very long period, and it really tests you and it challenges you as to with this thing that you're doing, are you authentic with it and are you passionate with it, and are you going to be consistent enough in doing it? Because you might do it, but you might not be passionate in doing it, and you might not be driven. And it is very important to have a picture of where you want to be, so that you could be able to be driven by the picture and the passion whenever the stamina or the power runs out, so that you could always remember that, I might be here now, but there's a picture that I've seen and there's somewhere where I want to be, and I'm clear with it. One thing about a vision, before I answer your question directly, is that it is very important for one to have a clear vision. Your vision has to be so much clear, or your dream has to be so much clear, so that whenever you are in a journey of pursuing it, no matter what comes your way, you will be able to still continue pursuing it, because you clearly understand what is that you are pursuing. Because if it's not clear, eventually you'll start thinking, is this even the right thing that I'm pursuing? You'll start thinking, is this even something that I should pursue? I'll be honest with you, there's a year 2019, yes, where Empowerment Podcast was shut down. Nothing was working. There were no uploads. There were nothing coming up. But even during that period, I decided to go and train myself and equip myself with radio presenting, so that I could be able to, when it comes back, or when now I'm doing this thing, I'll have so much skill for it to do it that I won't look back again. I had to equip myself so that when I'm fully equipped, I could be able to take this dream now and send it to the world in a right way, with a strategy, with a proper planning, with the proper tools, with the right thing. So with your question that how long does it take? All I could say is that pursue your dream and never stop pursuing your dream. Eventually it will come your reality. In the journey, there will come times where you will see that, now I'm getting tired. Now it seems as if this thing is not coming into pass. In the set time that I have placed for myself, remember what the word says. It says, write the vision down, though it may tarry, but it will definitely come to pass. So I think that what kept me so much in the way that even though 2019, we did nothing, the entire year, no uploads, nothing. I knew at the back of my mind that though it may tarry now, but in its due time, it will come to pass. So I guess that is it for me, that what kept me going, even when I knew that, I'm facing this hard time, I could say.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I've been listening from your first response. I'm like, oh my goodness. Wait, Lunga, can you just go back to something? You said 2018 and you mentioned metric. Is that correct? Now I'm feeling so old.
I think I'm the youngest in my podcast.
No, I am.
Oh my goodness, no ways.
Let's not go there, because I don't want us to start revealing ages. Okay, but yeah, I'm the youngest. I know that because I know all you guys' ages.
This is look at you, the privilege of being umpati right now. But man, thank you so much. And what I underlined the most is that it doesn't matter where you are. If God is is dropping something to you, He will always take you through and making sure that you are able to achieve that thing at the end of the day. Look at you now. You turned your situation into something so great that is not only empowering you, but also empowering many, many lives out there. And congratulations once again for taking such a big step.
Thank you so much, sis. And
pursuing your dream in that way. I mean, that's being brave. I was just saying that that's being brave. That's being an inspiration on its own. And to also young people, I feel like we are approaching a time where people will be receiving their results and things like that. I hope you guys found courage in all of the conversation that you'll be having today with already the information that you've shared. Mina, I've grabbed quite a lot. And I'm thinking to myself, wherever you are is not exactly where you end up, because God is planning something greater and something way, way better than your situation at that point. Exactly. So we just have to fix our eyes to the prize and fix ourselves and be able to reposition ourselves into a point where we ask God, what is it that you want us to give? And be of service. I was listening to a podcast this other day. They were saying the nice thing about being of service at church, that you get to a point where you can't really believe, oh my goodness, did I really say that? Did I really get someone up today and just said positive words? Because you're not focusing on your situation only, you're focusing on what God can do at this specific time. It's not about focusing on the negative. it. I'm really inspired already. I hope you guys are having a good time with us here on Soulful Talks. And guys, like this, I'm just moved. Thank you so much, Mr. Order. One of the questions I would like to ask is that, did you maybe set some SMART goals? SMART goals are, that acronym where you're stating that S is for being specific, like knowing exactly what you'd like to achieve, what kind of goal that you'd like to achieve. Was it like measurable, like to have specific plan to mark your progress as you go? Was it at that point attainable? Like you have the attitude and aptitude to make your goal reality. Did it point like, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm at this situation, I can see that this goal is attainable. Realistic, was it realistic enough? Or it was like, oh my goodness, this dream is so big. Looking at where I am right now, how am I going to get there? Or it was like, okay, I need to be specific. I need to be realistic. And not, because sometimes we set goals and we fail to achieve them because we didn't set them in a realistic form and say, okay, if for example I want to finish maybe my postgrad or maybe my honors in like 6 months. Okay, some people do it. Actually, I have a friend who finished his dissertation in like 6 months. But there are those goals that are just kind of like unrealistic. Maybe let's say finishing it in like 3 months. So that's just so unrealistic. So I think maybe you can share all of that time bound as well. Did you set a certain frame? Was okay at this point? I'd like to have been working with a team of 12 people coming different walks of life and things like that. So how did you go about setting your goals in that or in areas where I think our young people or people who are interested in setting more goals can learn from? And I believe that sometimes you get disappointed because you're like, oh my goodness, I haven't achieved this. I said I was going to achieve this and that at this point. So please just take us through your SMART goal strategy and how you went about that.
Yeah. Yeah, because the problem with me is that I don't want this to sound bad, but I believe in God, and as I said that
sure.
As I said that this is God ordained, God directed, and I follow His footsteps. Yes, there's a part that I need to play as the leader, and there's a lot that I have to put in place, like planning, as you said. And to be honest with you, when I started planning Empowerment Podcast, it required a lot of things that I did not have. Some of them I still do not have even today. But I never allowed that to weaken my goal. I never allowed that to stop me from attaining it. When I started, I did not have a laptop. The phone I was using, I won't mention the brand, but it was a phone that was not even at a state where I would be able to access the internet with. At the time when I started Empowerment Podcast, I did not even have Wi-Fi connection. The data was too expensive for me to purchase. Even if when I had the ability of purchasing it, I would try to upload one episode and it would consume the entire data without me doing anything. So when I started it, all odds were against me. My plan was it seemed unrealistic at the time. It seemed as if, just go to work or go to school, then try this years later, And I said, even with the gap that I took on 2019 from actually doing podcasts, it was not because I said, let me put things down. Situation came and forced me to do it because I saw that there are no resources for me to continue with what I've started. So my planning at the time, it was that it was very unrealistic. When you receive a word from God, we get too much excited and we sometimes exaggerate it and we put it so big that it overwhelms even the current things we have at that point in time, and we overlook even the starting point because of how big the vision is. And we just want to jump with it. We wanted to skyrocket. We wanted to jump from starting into actually being what we saw. And I guess it happens to the best of us, And I'm sure at the time it was also the contribution of what happened with me and why a lot of things got to me at the time. I never wanted to start where I was, and that gap gave me time to think about it and actually plan it properly. Now, and at the time I did not then plan according to what I saw, but I planned according to where I'm going. I made what I saw my destiny rather than making what I saw where I have to start at. So it gave me the ability of starting, at the point where I'm most comfortable at, or at the point where I'm able to take my vision and put it to where I saw, and I started using my strength. As I said, I even went into studying presenting, radio presenting, and that helped a lot because it gave me a lot of ideas as to how media works, since also podcasting is part of the media, and it gave me a lot of ideas. I started equipping myself, I started empowering myself so that when I go out to empower people, I'll then be able to actually do it. Do not just promise something that you're going to do to people and you're actually not going to be able to deliver as you've promised. And I started looking at, okay, what markets am I looking at? And I came back with the thing that says, okay, my podcast will be focused to Christians. Hence we're a Christian podcast. I started looking at all those things that I was not looking prior when I started. As I said, that I started with It's As Empowerment FM, and when I came back, I was like, okay, let me draw this vision down and let me be real with it, and let me take it from where I am and put it to where God showed me it's being. I'll start and I'll just trust God to put me where He showed me it's at.
Into a point where brothers even took him, and sold him for slavery. However, I believe he did not give up. You know what I mean? And the Bible also says that he said to his brothers that you intended it for evil. However, the Lord used it for my good. So I believe, Mr. Author, you've already answered my next question, which was going to ask you what were some of the challenges that you faced while with the Empowerment podcast, but I do believe you have already answered that. But if you would like to highlight, maybe emotionally, you feel free to answer that.
Thank you so much for that, for the question, Nokubongwa. One of the greatest challenges, I understand the challenges that I mentioned, not having the tools, not having everything that I mentioned, but one of the greatest things that is a challenge that one can face, it is trying to empower people, and at the same time, you are not fully empowered yourself. How can you equip someone when you also need equipping yourself? So I guess that was one of the biggest things that most visionaries and dreamers actually face. And the second thing that could be a biggest challenge is actually you not being equipped enough to actually pursue your thing. You need to be equipped, and you need to be passionate about it, and you need to actually be ready for it, because it will challenge you physically, mentally, financially, psychologically, and it will require a lot, and you need to be ready for those things. And if you are equipped in those areas, I believe that you cannot empower if yourself you are not empowered. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So I believe if we could get that fixed, we will then be ready for the most things that we dream and we want to attain eventually.
True.
Yeah, that's so great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think Mr. Author just answers every question. I think maybe I don't, because wow, he keeps on covering almost everything that we're going to ask him and things like that. And thank you so much for just thank you so much for this is more like pouring your heart when you are giving us feedback or your responses and things like that. But I also like to know, Mr. Author, Uguti, looking at where you were when you started Empowerment Podcast and where you are right now, do you feel like you've put enough to achieving all the goals that you have set for yourself? Are you at a point of okay, fine, I didn't emerge in this, being at this point, or being at this stage, or being here. I didn't imagine us as a podcast being at this present moment. Do you have things okay, I've invested in myself? I like the parts where you said you even went to radio trainings and things like that, because podcast podcast is also part of the media, which is very, very important. Self-development is very, very critical. And I think if our listeners could take that away, it will take them very, very far. You have to be selfish at some point and be like, you know what, I need to invest in myself. I need to make myself grow. There are short courses that are taking place. There are different trainings. Others are free. Others are very, very affordable. So put yourself in those spaces. I mean, like, grab those opportunities that they are presented. I remember one of the ladies I met a couple of years ago. She was funded by NYDA and things like that. And she said to me, grab all the opportunities that are going to be presented to you between the age of 18 and 35, because there's that brackets in South Africa. I don't know in other countries as well. But she was emphasizing on how important it is to grab those opportunities and positioning yourself into the spaces where you get all of those information in order to improve yourself and your dream. And I like what you did with yourself, where you saw the need of improving yourself. And it's basically accepting that, okay, I might know something, but I might not know enough of it to go forward and to achieve everything that I've set for myself. So my question would basically be that how much work, when you're looking at your vision board, are you almost like half there, or you are there already? Are there things that are like, okay, achieving this and that was like one of the greatest thing in the podcast?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah. Why are you asking me these questions, guys? Okay. These questions they are putting me on the spot so much. But hey, I think I have to answer.
Sorry about that, but you're already on the spot.
You see, so I might as well just move with it. Okay. How much I have invested and. On the vision board, to be honest with you, on the vision board, I think I haven't even done 1% of what I envisioned and where I see the podcast being at. With that, not being grateful for what God has done, and not even taking away the powers and the provision that God has done throughout the years. I believe Empowerment Podcast is just in its prime stage, where it's just getting started rather than it being the thing. With what I've invested, I don't think I've invested enough. I have invested so much because it is here today. And I'm so grateful to God for the people he has invited to the podcast, ladies like you and the rest of the team who will be listening in, I'm grateful to God for every one of you. But as I said, according to the vision board, guys, we are yet to go even far. We are yet to go further. I could say the sky is the limit. That's the only thing that could limit us, according to the vision. And yeah.
The sky is definitely the limit. Now, all right, I just want to put you on the spot. I know you're already on the spot, but I just want to put you on the spot. Right? Why don't you just be a little bit vulnerable, a little bit more soulful, right? I want to ask.
Okay, good.
Right? Was there at any point that you wanted to give up? Because I know there are a lot of young people who might have dreams. In fact, who have dreams, right? Big dreams, like you're saying that on your vision board, you haven't even covered 1% of it, you know what I mean? But or maybe you've covered 1% of it, but was there a point where you wanted to give up?
Yeah, I had more than 5 episodes where I have had that urge of giving up. And, not only from me, even from the people around me, they would come to me and say, you know what, this thing is not working, bro. Podcasting is the thing for the people who are in the US. You are here, let us go to ShopRite and find some work, and or maybe go to school, but do something with your life, that is not podcasting, and I've had those moments, and what did I do to overcome them? As I said, I believed that Empowerment Podcast wasn't something that came from me, but it was something that came from God. And I believe that if you've made a covenant with God, you need to stick to it, because God does not give up on it too. So I guess that's what kept me going, understanding who it comes from more than understanding who am I doing it for. When I'm doing this, I'm not doing this for me, but I'm doing this for God. It's God's people who will be empowered at the end. So that what kept me going, understanding whom I'm serving. I offered myself to be service to His people. And I exposed myself for it to actually happen. So if I would give up, I would just imagine each and everybody who has listened to Empowerment Podcast who say, I'm surviving because I still listen to this podcast. So whenever I try to give up or whenever those episodes would come, I would think of the good it does to other people, and I'll say, if I die, who will continue with doing what I do with the passion that God has given me to do it?
Sure. Thank you so much. Be of service. I think that's one of the things that I went to 2021 with. I'm like, God, I'm just here. Like, I'm just being a full servant. And thank you so much for allowing God to use you in that manner, and being so disciplined, and being so honoring the gift as well. Because sometimes you feel like, okay, maybe this is enough. I don't have enough to run with this vision that God has placed in me. Maybe I don't have enough information and things like that. But it is believing that God will make a way, even if it seemed to be no way. It is believing in yourself. It is believing in the vision, because you are the only one who had the dream. Like, so it is about holding on to it and sticking to it. And when everyone else is like, I think we should be doing this and that. But now it's very, very difficult to let go, because now you've already envisioned this thing. God has already spoke to you about something relating to this, about how He'll provide if you keep on keeping on, and if you keep on obeying His word and His will, and aligning our goals with His will. So that's super great, and I hope our listeners are grabbing a thing or two from that as well. And yeah, I think it's just amazing like that. Okay, my very last question to you, Mr. Author, was that what's the worst that will happen if you keep going and you do not reach your goals?
What's the worst that will happen? I think it's me not dying, I guess, because I believe I'm born for a purpose, and the purpose it is to empower God's people. And if I do not meet my goal, I believe I'm born for a purpose, as I said, and the purpose it is to empower people. If people are not empowered, then I guess, because the goal it is not only to empower people, but it is to die empty. As long as the goal is still there, then I'll continue moving. I think I've faced so much that I don't think I have more room of giving up.
Wow.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, we all, when we die, that well done, and you faithful servant, you good and faithful servant from our Lord Jesus Christ. So yes, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much, Mr. Author. To engage with us, please do follow us on Instagram. We are at Empowerment Podcast. On Facebook, we are #Empowerment Podcast. On WhatsApp, please do WhatsApp us your testimonies, telling us on what God has done for you, to encourage other people via voice note or via writing, and we will share it on our Soulful Talks. On WhatsApp, we are 0156641. I'll repeat, 065-615-6641. On TikTok, we are at Empowerment Podcast. On YouTube, we are Empowerment Podcast. And remember that we are here to empower you, inspire you, and equip you from Monday to Sunday. Well, just to close, Mr. Author, I'd like for you to give words of encouragement to the young people out there who have dreams, just encourage them, inspire them, equip them with your words of wisdom as we are about to close.
Okay, first of all, thank you, ladies, for having me on your wonderful and beautiful show. I listen to it and I love it, And in my closing words to the youth, it is to pursue your dream. Eventually, you are going to live them as your reality. Never stop pursuing them. I believe we are at an advantage whereby we can pursue them. Our parents never got the opportunity we are having. I started a podcast with just a phone, and today it's one of the biggest things listened in 9 different countries. So if I did it with just a phone, imagine what you could do with the things accessible to you. So you can do it. You can do it and believe in yourself, and that belief will become become your reality. If you could believe in it and believe that you can do it, validate yourself, never seeking validation from other people, because people don't have time to validate you. You are the one to validate yourself. You are the one to go out and start pursuing your dreams. You are the one who needs to get up in the morning and pursue that dream. You know, I used to walk from home to the library just to access Wi-Fi.
Thank you. I hope our listeners grabbed all that information. And till next time, goodbye, guys. Happy Sunday. Happy Valentine's. Take care of yourself. God bless.